TiE is all about fostering entrepreneurship. It is the largest network of entrepreneurs in the world. It's a non-profit organization. TiE Lahore was founded in 2002. Our charter is developing the local ecosystem for entrepreneurship. We have a very aggressive plan for year 2016, and one of our main themes is developing a angel ecosystem in Pakistan. A lot of startups are coming up in Pakistan, and we feel there is a lack of a enabling system for them. The second thing we are concentrating on is innovative agriculture. Pakistan's economy depends on agriculture. It's our backbone, and we think not enough highlight is given to this sector. So innovative agriculture is another theme which carry forward this year. Along with that, women empowerment. For any successful society, country to be in the leagues of nation, I think women empowerment is very important. So we're looking at that aspect. So I think these are some of the key issues we'll be addressing. Plus, healthcare is another very important issue in Pakistan, and we intend to focus on that as well. I work for the Crescent Group, part of the Crescent family. So very earlier on, I knew what I was going to do. One of my cousins, I remember at an early stage, wanted to join Air Force. I was very keen on joining Air Force as well. And I wanted to be a GDP pilot. So when I went up to my father and he said nothing doing, I pretty much understood what I was going to do. So I went to the US, got my master's in business, came back and joined the family business. The best thing which happened to me was my father happened to be a great delegator. So from a very early stage, I was given a lot of delegation, and I implemented, I believe, most of what I learned from my college days or university days. So that gave me a lot of confidence to experiment with things. One of the other things I think I learned very earlier on was, everyone make mistakes, and as long as you don't repeat them and again, or second or third time, it's okay to make mistakes. And this was again, coming from my father, who encouraged me, never micromanaged me, which enabled me to be what I am today. Cresventures is a very interesting story. I came back in '87, joined the family business, was running one of the textile units in a rural area, and I was looking for computers were new those days. There was a lot of paperwork, so I was looking for some IT solution for my company. Bumped into a gentleman who was running a small software company, and during the process of the software implementation for my project, we started talking. And he was very keen on exporting software, and over a period of a year, we kept on talking. I wasn't too convinced. I didn't have any IT background. I was just a user of IT. Eventually, after a period of year and a half, he convinced me to look into this possibility. And like any young Turk who joined family business, I was trying to make my mark, wanted to do something different. So we made the first feasibility, I believe it was in 1989, when it put it up to my business council, which was comprising of the elders. We got a very stiff response. It was a very small project, and I was not very encouraged. I was neither discouraged nor encouraged. So I went back to them and again, and finally in 1990, I got the approval for doing that. We're talking about late 80s, early 90s time frame. Crescent Group was going through a major phase of embarking on many new activities. At that time, one of the first leasing companies in Pakistan came up, which was formed by the Crescent Group. Similarly, the first investment bank came into Pakistan, which was again launched by the Crescent Group. So we were always encouraged to look at new ideas. Crestsoft, however, was totally different. I had no IT background. I was looking for some software for my textile firm. And In the process of doing that, came across a gentleman who was running a small software company who, over the period of that implementation, which was about a year, convinced me into looking at the possibility of setting up a software house for export. This was the first angel activity I undertook, and it translated into something very big. But it was very tough convincing initially my own peers and business counsel of the family to start this business, but I'm very glad they allowed me to do it. When we started Cressoft, we were advised to lower our projections, which were very rosy. We were advised by our elders to, ask for or cater for more funding than we'd asked for. Because as compared to our other projects, it was a very small project. We were very confident within the next 4 years or so after formation. The company was formed in 1990. In 1994, we hadn't done much. We had not exported anything. We almost ran out of the money. And at that point in time, we took one decision which changed the fortunes of the company. As from day one, we were catered to not compete on price. So we had very good, the quality of manpower was very good. All the necessary quality certifications which were required for export purpose were there. But then one event happened where I was about to close down the company. One of our key personnel came up to me and he said, you've spent so much money in this company and we're on the brink of getting this one small project, which could be the game changer. And this is in July of 1994. And I remember I'd almost decided to, shut down the company when we took this decision to just pursue one more opportunity, and which became a game changer for us. From 94 to 2000, we grew, I think, at 100% every year. From 35 people, we went up to 350 people with offices in USA and all major cities in Pakistan. In December of 2000, we got evaluated for about $280 million. The idea here was the company was all about people who were working for us. So we made sure not only we got the top quality people in the company, but we had systems like sweat equity and other incentives for employees, so they feel as part of the company rather than working for the company. So I think our biggest strength was retention of manpower and taking good care of them. I think I feel very comfortable in the path which was initially chosen for me by my elders, my father. I think I can't think of any other organization which would have given me the opportunity to experiment, be myself, see what I'm all about. So in this encouraging environment, one was able to take on initiatives and had the ability, had the backing sort of to pull them through. So I think that gave me a lot of confidence to look at other opportunities. One of them being Cressoft, the other being Cresventures, which I'm looking after nowadays. I think many things, most of the things I do in the same manner. If I look at significant events, one of the events was somewhere in the late 2000s, where we were negotiating regarding the evaluation of Cressoft. Now, our timing was a bit off. We took too much time to negotiate to arrive at the valuation of the company. And we were not aware what was going to happen in the future. March 2001, everyone knows, was where the IT bubble burst and NASDAQ. So if we had done better or earlier negotiations to arrive at evaluations, we would have been listed by the time the company went down. So I think that is something, when I look back, that could have been something we could have done better. I think by definition, an entrepreneur is someone who takes risks. So the first thing which an entrepreneur has to have is, a assessment of his risk aversion level. The other thing is persistency, and then ability to learn from your failures. I've come across many entrepreneurs, and in the West, starting initiatives, failing at them, learning from them, and going into new initiatives is something which is much sought after. So people, when they invest, they look at the track record, and if they see that the person has taken the risk to do new things and learn from them and move on, that is much appreciated. So I think that those are the two things, I really look for in an entrepreneur. I think the biggest lesson I learned was with my experience with Cresventures. Getting Cresventures to the stage where it was, getting evaluated by UBS Warburg, being a non-IT guy, getting into IT business and running the largest software company in Pakistan with Fortune 500 clients abroad, gave me a lot of confidence to experiment with other things. Another lesson, coming from Steve Jobs, who I admire and follow, was something which he said, stay hungry, stay foolish, follow your heart, which made me very open to looking at other propositions, and at least processing any proposition before accepting or rejecting it. So that was another lesson learned. The third lesson I learned from the founder of Ackman Fund, Jacqueline. I met her some time back, I think it was 2010. She was visiting Pakistan. The law and order situation was not good. One was not very comfortable traveling to areas other than what you were familiar with. And when I met her, she was traveling to Peshawar to look at one of her projects. And even we sitting in Pakistan, even if we had work in Peshawar, would think twice before going there at that time. And I thought to myself, if this lady can come from the US and do all this in Pakistan, I think we really need to do something about it. And that's how I thought I'd do something about social impact or angel capital at that stage. So I think these are the three key lessons learned from that. I think one of the lessons I learned very earlier on was you never compete on price. You have to have something different. There's always someone who's cheaper, faster, better than you, but you have to provide your consumer, your end consumer, something which has to be different. It cannot be, very earlier on I learned that I never wanted to compete on price. I would compete on quality, I would compete on other parameters, but never on price. The second lesson very earlier on I learned was customer is king. Your consumer is king, and you have to cater to their requirements. You may come up with, unless you're a genius or you're an innovator, you can't come out with a product and expect people to like it. It has to be something for which there is a significant demand. And the third lesson I learned through my experience was to be open to propositions. Many people I come across, they sometimes don't really process any proposition which comes their way, and they reject it before even looking at it. So that is something which I learned, that ability to look at the proposition, at least process them, and then take a decision on it. I turned 50 2 years back. So, it was a time of reflection. I looked back at what I'd done in the last 30 years working in Pakistan. And one of the projects which one of the companies I ran in Pakistan, Cresventures, was something which always provided me a lot of joy and pride and recognition. So I thought, what should I, moving forward, another 10 years which I want to work, what can I contribute? What can I do differently? And during that time, I read an article in one of the newspapers where I read about this boy who lived somewhere in Sawat and had relocated because of earthquake to some university in Islamabad, and made a mobile app which he sold to the Apple App Store for, $100,000. And my experience while at Cresventures has been, I became a strong believer in the potential of the youth in Pakistan. So keeping that in mind, looking at a lot of tech startups coming in, I thought there was a missing link there, which is angel investment. You came across a lot of interesting ideas, you led up a lot of interesting companies, but there was a shortage of angel or venture capital money. With that in mind, I decided first to get myself educated on that, attended a course at Berkeley, came back and decided to launch Cresventures, which my angel capital fund. Pakistan, it's right now the phase it is in. It seems lately we've seen it's a Me Too approach. So entrepreneurship is a buzzword. Everyone is saying, entrepreneurship will get Pakistan out of where it is today and take it to the path of glory. I think this needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. Just like an entrepreneur has to have some certain skills, similarly, the institutions which are imparting this education to our youth need to also have the necessary faculty systems in play. And then an entrepreneurship ecosystem which comes into play, which needs to foster all those budding entrepreneurs coming out of these colleges and universities and other places. We are an angel fund. Angel, or to a certain extent, even venture capital investment is still in an art form. It's not science. I've met many successful or big super angels who are investing all over the world, and we discussed their investment criteria. And one of the things which came across is the main theme behind any investment to start with is an idea. The next stage, we look at the entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur has to have, or the founder has to have some basic skills, some experience in the relevant field for us to invest in that. We don't invest in early idea stage companies. We invest in companies which have some proof of concept, some customer traction, some projections. And if they are in the verticals we are familiar with, we help them come up with a business plan. So idea is good, but the next stage of idea is you've got to come up with a sort of a business plan for us to look at. I think my greatest inspiration has been my father. He passed away 2 years back. I worked with him for about 30 years, and I've come across many people from different spheres of life and business. And his greatest skill was delegation, and that made me what I am today. And if I think in any other circumstances, I would have turned out differently. There are a lot of people in history who inspire me, but if you look at recent history, the person I admired the most was Steve Jobs. I mean, the way he started Apple, his life story, how he turned Apple into a household name, and then his mission in life, the way he went about it, I think I would have loved to meet Steve Jobs. Success has, there are many ways to define success. I'll take my personal example. I define success for myself in 3 or 4 different ways. There's my family life. I look at my kids, I look at my better half. If I've been able to provide a good value system to my kids and have provided them quality education, I would define success in that element. Similarly, when I look at my business, if any of the businesses I'm running is in the top 3 businesses of the country in terms of profitability, growth, I would feel that I've done well there, and that would be something where I can measure the success. In my personal life, I'd like to define success as a social impact which I have been able to be part of or have created. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.